Hey everyone, welcome back to Wolfman's Garage, and today we're going to be rebuilding the carburetor that came out of my camper. As you can see, it's been blowing a lot of smoke back into the intake. I'm thinking there's an issue with the choke, and the accelerator pump is a little dry, so I just find I had to feather the throttle a lot and it would stall out under load, so we're going to see what's going on. When it comes to rebuilding a carburetor, you need to figure out what carburetor you have. So I figured it out by looking through an old repair manual, but also if you need the exact model number, for example, this is a holley, and to figure that out, part numbers, it's usually on the housing for the, hold on, let that focus in. There's numbers up here or on the body of the carburetor. So that is your point to figure out what to tell your parts guy or look for online, depending on which route you go. A lot of carburetor kits come with instructions and a lot of parts. Some parts, like some carb kits, could be generic. It could be for 3 different carburetors, but they could all work. So some of them might have bigger diaphragms, smaller diaphragms, so you just have to match up and see what you have. But let's have a look at the kit we got here. There's all kinds of little C-clips or E-clips, cotter pins, and ball bearings, so for check valves and things like this. O-rings, all kinds of O-rings, some gaskets, again, a diaphragm. Actually, that's a diaphragm for an accelerator pump. There's that. This one's a plunger for it. You just line that up with whatever you're working with, and then, yeah, we'll get to that after. But yeah, all kinds of bushings and new screws, new crush washers. Ooh, new needle and seat. That's a good sign. Some of these don't have these. Yeah, needle and seats, and all kinds of gaskets. This one, let's see if I can open this up here. Looks like I have a couple options. Here's our base plate that goes onto the intake manifold. Yeah, so you get the idea. Oh, and here's a another pump. Neat. I'll show you how that works. So now when rebuilding a carburetor, it's always good to be organized. I'm doing this in my camper. It's a hot day and I have no air conditioning in my garage, so, and I don't have to walk far to put it back in. So now the best way to start is to orient your carburetor so that you know what goes where, because there's 2 floats. There's a primary and a secondary. So you need to know what side goes where. So when you're pulling them apart, you know, you put this side on this side and this side on this side, and so on and so forth. So, okay. Now, where do we start digging in on this thing? So, I think I'm going to start with taking the primary float bowl out. There's 4 screws or bolts with flathead screwdriver end. They just come right out like that. Might be a bit of gas in here, so beware. I guarantee there will be, if you've taken it fresh off the engine. I'm trying to think of the last time I really rebuilt a carburetor. I think it was an old thermoquad I picked up at the dump and I rebuilt it for my auto shop class. That's going on 15 years ago. Feel old. Okay. These bolts go on this side, so these bolts will go on this side. Okay, there's our fuel. Now we just pry gently, and it should come out. Now there's also this tube that delivers fuel to the secondary by your accelerator pump. So, yeah, let's hopefully this will come out with ease. I have to take the accelerator pump off the bottom. I just remembered that because it's held on by a linkage. And then this float ball should come out. I'll show you that after. Okay, oh yeah, it's spring loaded. Beware of your spring. Don't lose that, or else you're going to have a bad weekend. So I'm just going to set this off to the side with our spring so we don't lose that. And okay, now we should be able to pry this apart unless I'm missing something. Okay. Might have to give it a little bit of love. Yeah, it's been a while since this has been apart, obviously. So I'm thinking if I can get this side off, this pipe will come with it. I'll just gently pry in behind it, and sure enough, it will come out. Okay. There we go. Yes. Okay, so there's our float, and it's definitely out of spec, so we'll have to redo that when we redo the floats. I'll have to put the new needle in seat and readjust the float to proper height. Oh yeah, this one's out of whack too. Okay, we have our, I'll show you here, we have our jets and our pump. That seems to be working, and I have to undo this, and this piece should come out. Sorry, this piece should come out. There's a clip. If I undo that, this linkage will come loose, and I can pull the diaphragm off. Just be careful to not lose these clips. Okay. They'll be replaced, but just make sure you don't lose them so you know what the part is that you're changing. I remembered we should probably take the base plate off first. So now this should... Ooh! Whoa! That pried up with a little more zest than I wanted to. There's our... All of our screws are out, except for one. That one will come out. There's two. Okay, perfect. I'm going to set these out of the way. Now we can get a better look at the bottom. And yeah, I'd say this gasket's not long for this world. But now I can get at the bottom here better. Okay. Whoa. The gasket is dry. Now we can work on all of our jets and like this. Now the kit does come with instructions and you just need to read them when you're doing reassembly, but right now we're just taking them apart, but it's always good to read the directions. These are your idle screws. Point on them. There are springs in here, so beware of that. Yeah, there's the spring. I don't know why I have this set up like this, but anyways, there's the spring. I'll have to dig the spring out of this one. There. Make sure these stay together so we know what we're looking for in the kit. I'm going to clean these up with some brake cleaner, or throttle cleaner I should say. Alright, so I'm going to start putting the float bowls back together, but this is our accelerator pump, and as I suspected, it is pulled apart. So I'm going to clean this up, put it back together, and I can start the reassembly and cleaning process. Okay, got the fan on, pretty hot. So I replaced the gasket here. This one's all yellowed and nasty looking. So now I'm going to put the new accelerator pump in place, which there's a spring. The kit didn't come with a new spring, so it just sits in the recess there. Here is the diaphragm for our accelerator pump. It sits over top of the spring like this. Make sure you line up your holes so you don't tear the gasket. And then the accelerator pump sits on top there, held in by our 4 screws. And after that, we're going to put new needle and seat and adjust the floats. I have a new float to go into it. Now that's tight. I need to scrape the rest of this gasket off, but there we go. Make sure it's working, which it is. Perfect. So, I can't remember where I left off, but I replaced the gasket on this inlet, and I replaced the accelerator pump, and I reinstalled the needles for the idle air mixtures, and per the instructions it said to bottom them out and then take them back full, like 2 full turns on all 4 of them. So these 2 that are at the front of the carburetor and these 2 at the back. So now I'm just going to continue cleaning the old gasket material off of these pieces, and I'm going to start reassembly. Hey everyone, it's the next day. A camera battery died, and came up with a new discovery. Not sure if you could see that, but I started pulling the gaskets off. But look at the corrosion in there. That is unbelievable. Like, it is disgusting. So I realized the screwdriver I was using to scrape the gasket probably wasn't the best idea, so I went to the dollar store and I got some different types of brass brushes and a gasket scraper. So, and a little tin roasting pan to set it in so I don't get carb cleaner everywhere. So I'm just going to set this in here and try again. So we're just going to soak the gasket, the old gasket, and clean up the best we can. Let that sit and kind of soak. And I'll take my little gasket scraper here. And see what we can do. Yeah, that's full of grime. I'm amazed this secondary's even worked, because all these jets were plugged, and I don't know how. Okay, so I'm going to give this another soaking and keep you updated when I get it all cleaned up. Now that we got both sides all cleaned up and scraped up, we'll get the bottom gasket off here. This one goes to your throttle blades. Oh, it's raining again. A lot of rain lately. It's a good day to do projects like this. Voila! One piece. So now I'm just gonna clean this up and I'll get back to you. Alright, now let's take this off. There's a little diaphragm in here that we should change. Now, just be mindful that there's two little O-rings. I'll show you, but just beware there's little O-rings in here that you don't want to lose. So, take this off as well. This is the choke. Some of these are electric choke. This one works by heat exchange. Now we can get this third bolt out of here. Okay. Get rid of these here. Now be careful, some of these might be different lengths, so just be aware of your orientation. So now we have to undo these 4 screws here. This will be spring loaded, so beware of the spring coming at you. Ooh. Yikes. There's our spring. There's a little recess in there to make sure the spring doesn't fly away on you. So now we go into our kit and see which one matches up. You're going to match the length and your bolt pattern for it. Might even also be the shape of the end of the bell here, but I'm thinking these are all the same, to be honest, but I could be wrong. Let's see here. Yep, winner, winner, chicken dinner. See how your holes line up? Okay, just make sure everything's flat and even. Clean up any extra gasket if there is. So, just be careful. See, here's the problem here, because whenever I go to push the spring in, it folds it. So you gotta kind of put it in a vise or hold it the right way. I'm just gonna see if I can't hold it the right way. Just hold it in my palm like this, keeping pressure on the bottom. That way the spring doesn't come down and compress, and it could tear the gasket that way. This is when the swearing will start. Actually, I have an idea. I press down on the spring and the diaphragm and try and reassemble it this way, making sure all of our holes align. Okay, I'm realizing less pressure. Son of a... Yeah. A little bit of patience, folks. Keep your calm. Two magnets together that are on opposite polarity. Okay, we got her all back together, and now listen to that. Much better. So, we're going to replace our gaskets, excuse me, and we'll start putting it all back together. Okay. Just clean all the debris out of here. There's an O-ring in one of these kits that will work for this. This one here. It's a little cork washer. It just fits in there, right here. Now we can put this back together. It's all good to go. Now we'll replace our choke. Voila! So, we got those put back together. Now let's start putting our floats back together. Get this out of the way here. A little bit more cleaning on this one. Now it's time to reassemble our floats. I have a new float. Came with the kit. Here's the old float. Gingerly and gently remove the spring and push it onto the new float. Be extra meticulous about it. Almost. Make sure the spring goes straight. I'm not sure if you can see that. Okay. So, here is where our float, it goes on a little shaft right here, and our spring sits on a little cup down under by the accelerator pump. So we're going to put it on the shaft like that, and in the kit it's going to come with new C-clips. E-clips or C-clips you call them. I call them son of a clips because it's going to go ping and you go son of a, you know. Sorry. But we're going to place it over the float where it's on the shaft. Take our pliers. That's what we wanted. Now, our float goes up and down. But we have to replace the needle and seat. The float needle, I should say. So, each one comes with its own kit. These are the same part numbers, it's the same size of needle and same. So, read your directions as to how to set your baseline for your floats. So, we'll take our needle and slide it in the top like so, and I'm just going to do a little quick reading here and then we'll know what we're dealing with. Float level adjustment. Invert fuel bowl float surface must be parallel with surface directly below float as shown. So basically what they're saying is they want it to be not on an angle, not up top, but just parallel with this. So I'll screw this in and we'll see how far it goes. Here's our gasket. Now this little nut is what adjusts it. So it goes over the top, and you turn that. Oh, I'm reading this upside down. This line here, right here, has to be parallel with this. So that looks about right. So we have that adjusted. We put our washer, our little, not washer, lowering, and our plug. After you tighten down your plug, double check, and yeah, we're still parallel. So set that aside and we'll get to work on the next one. It's pretty well the same process. So it's pretty straightforward. It's the same process. Just make sure this is parallel with your float bowl. Now to install this piece, we're going to put our power valve back in. It's a 1-inch wrench to do this. Just make sure you have a new gasket. They come in the kit. Just like that. So we have both our floats readjusted and installed. The new accelerator pump. And yeah, now time for reassembly. Okay, so now that we have our power valve and our jets back into this plate here, we're going to reinstall the primary floats first. There's an O-ring on this jet that has to fit into this hole right at the top here. So I'm just going to lube it up a little bit of PB Blaster, and gingerly and gently place it in. We'll let that soak up after we find which gasket we need. Now these kits come with a lot of gaskets, so you got to be careful, but if you think you don't have the right gasket, it could be flipped around, because a lot of these gaskets only go on one way. Lens up. Make sure your surface is clean. Now, install the power valve. It might just sandwich together when I put the screws in. Okay. Now, so there should be a little plug for this here. Anyways, so now we have our float. We'll find our gasket. Same thing, match it up the best you can, and line it up. Just take your time, don't rush, and you'll find the gasket you need. This one. Yes. Okay. Okay, so you're going to want to tighten these in a cross pattern. Okay, there's our primary, all good to go. Everything seems to be sitting right, so now onto the secondary. Now here's where it gets tricky. The secondary has this, which this plate goes onto. This one was really rusty, so we really need to evaluate what gasket goes where. Okay, so we take, I have to do this standing it up, but see this here? This gasket goes over here. Then we sandwich this plate on top of there, which we put this gasket on top, and then we put this gallery on there. So it's less confusing when you're doing it yourself, but it seems confusing now, but you'll figure it out. There's also I know you won't be able to see it. I might take pictures of it on my phone and then share it, but there's your diagram on how to do it. It gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do everything. If I can do it, you can do it. Made a bit of a boo-boo. This gasket goes on here. Then our plate. Yep. Make sure the holes are all aligned. Plate this gasket over top of that. Best part about this is you have a little notch that's kind of your guideline. So make sure they're all sandwiched together. And then we can start putting our funky screws back in here. All tight. All right. Now we reassemble our floats. Yep, we have our metering body plate in place. Our gasket, metering body gasket, and our metering body. So we have that all lined up. Make sure you place your gaskets for your screws, for your floats. This tube is supposed to go between our floats. Now with our tube in place, trick is keep the O-ring just at the top, and it'll roll down the shaft as you slide it on. Yeah. Just like that. And then it ain't loose. And then we sandwich it into place. Alright. It's all put back together. Battery's running low on my camera, but I just have to put the throttle blades back on and we should be good for reassembly. So yeah, I'll let you know. I'll talk to you when the battery's charged again. Alright everyone, well, it's a couple days later. I went to reinstall the carburetor and the choke heat tube broke, so I had to figure out how to fix that because I couldn't find one at the parts store, and went to the junkyard, nothing there, so I had to come up with a plan. I actually want to give a special shout out to my cousin Mark. He really helped me out. He came up with the idea to basically drill out the old tube and slide in a new piece of brake line and basically JB welding that in place. I know it's not pretty, but it'll work, and bending the new tube that way. So I'm going to do that and we'll see how that works. Also, I figured before I started putting JB weld on it, I'd show you guys a little trick. So, oop, don't drop the cap. See this point inside the cap here? You can actually use it to open tubes like this. Just like that. Cool. Okay, it's been 24 hours and I'll zoom in for you. I glued with JB Weld the pipe into place. So here's hoping that it stayed in place when I put the carburetor back on. But I'll get that back on. Alright, hoses are back on, linkages are in place, everything's tightened up. Let's see if we can get her to start. Okay, I'm going to apologize in advance for all the headphone users. I pumped the pedal a lot to fill the float, so let's see if she even tries. Wow! That started up right quick. Perfect. I'm just going to let it warm up and then we can test out the secondaries. Okay, so I just drove down the road and pulled over to set you guys up. So I'm just waiting for traffic to go by, and then I'll put my seatbelt back on, I suppose. And then we'll, yeah, see what happens. Here we go. Oh. So, immediately, it's got more pickup. Like, before I was putting the pedal down about halfway, and now you can't even tell I'm pushing the pedal. Like, it's a lot of power in this thing. It's a big block, right? As they say, no replacement for cubic displacement. So, yeah. Doing this down a back road, so it's a bit safer. But, alright, let's hear the 4 barrels. Oh yeah! Now I need to adjust the speedometer cable because it is off by 10 kilometers. I'm actually going 10 kilometers faster than what it says on the speedometer, but wow, unbelievable. So I'm just going to do a loop. I'm going to go around and then turn back to my house, and then yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about what we did. This thing is running awesome. So the test drive went well. I still have that exhaust leak. I'm not sure what that would be. I'm thinking it might be the gasket at the manifold. I'm hoping it's not a cracked manifold or something like that, but with the mileage, it's only, well, not sure if you can see that. 29,772 kilometers, not miles, kilometers. So that's like 15,000 roughly. So, I guess with this, just follow the instructions, take your time, and yeah, it's quite simple. People get scared of rebuilding carburetors because of the little jets and the screws, but it's quite simple if you just take your time, follow the directions, just stick to it, and you can do anything you want, really. I guess never give up hope, I guess, so, yeah. Well, there's many more projects to come on the camper here. I want to repaint it, maybe redo the interior, fix the floor, get rid of that stupid 70s linoleum. Yeah, a lot more projects to come with this, I think. I think this is worth putting the time and effort into. And yeah, it'll be a fun little rig when I'm done with it. So that'll be all for this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you see. Yeah, so let me know. Alright, I'll holler at you later.